This is the U Soccer Revolution podcast, episode number 26. I want to start out by saying thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I truly appreciate all the downloads. What started out as a small project for the group of coaches that I was mentoring has turned into tens of thousands of downloads across the globe, and it's just mind-boggling how much the podcast has grown. I've been really busy the past few months coaching, and I have not had the time to devote to the listeners as much as I've liked to. But I have many interviews lined up and ready to go, and we'll be uploading them soon. So stay tuned, and you'll definitely be getting a lot of good content from the podcast. So my guest today is a former professional American football player, founder of IamNotYou.com, a coaching program that inspires and propels young athletes to their ultimate potential by showing what it takes to be great and providing a plan that works, and including the systems, habits, and mindsets that greatness requires. Nee, I've given the listeners just a little bit about yourself, but why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about you and what you're doing, and also give us your full name. That way they know exactly what it is.
Definitely. My name is Olaniyi Shibomahim, and first of all, I'd just like to say I'm really happy to be on. But I'm born and raised in Portland here, and I grew up in a soccer family, so soccer has always been at the core of me, if you will, and in my family. And so I was one of four boys, and I grew up, playing soccer, and it was not until about fifth or sixth grade where I started getting a little bigger and running over kids in practice and things, and I realized it was really time for a new sport, and so I really fell in love with football, and I started playing football in seventh grade and just really fell in love with it and excelled in high school, but didn't really get an opportunity. I didn't have a lot of big scholarship opportunities and things like that, and so I ended up walking on to Oregon State, where I played there for 3 seasons. And even when I was there, I was a walk-on there, and it was hard for me to sort of get the ultimate shot that I wanted in order to play at the next level, because that was ultimately my dream. And so I ended up transferring to Portland State, where, again, the next year I was there, I got a scholarship there, but I still wasn't getting the playing time I wanted until my senior year, when an opportunity opened up, and I really took it. Really took advantage of it and had a coming out year my senior year. And I ended up getting picked up by the New Orleans Saints, played 2 seasons there. I would have loved to have played longer, but we'll get into some of the reasons why a little later. But since then, I've came back to Portland. I have a family of 5 now, and I've started IamNotYou.com, which is basically working with young athletes, young, committed, dedicated athletes, showing them the habits, the systems, the mindset necessary in order to dominate their sport. So it's really a different breed of athlete that I'm working with. There's anyone who's coached, anyone who's played knows that your team's always divided up in a few parts. And usually you have at least 2 to 3 type of athletes. They're the ones who are just there, just to be there. They're the ones who kind of take it serious, but have a lot of things that hold them back. And then there's the ones who really want to dominate and really want to take over the sport. And they're just not always sure how, though. And so those are the type of athletes that I work with. I really work with athletes who have big time goals and dreams and really want to figure out what it takes in order to get there. What is it going to look like? Because a lot of people talk about, the mindset and all these different words that people throw around a lot. But at the end of the day, these athletes need practical things and practical steps and systems in order to get them to where they want to go. And so that's what I do.
Great. And tell us a little bit more. How did you get started? What made you go down this path?
So when I came back from playing in New Orleans, I wanted to stay around the game of football. And so I decided to start coaching at a local high school. And it was there that I sort of got to know a lot of the younger players, and I could see a lot of myself in them. And one of the things that was most frustrating to me was that they had so much talent. I mean, these kids were so talented, a lot more talented than I was. And they definitely had the desire, but they just really didn't know how. And there was no really infrastructure around them that really supported, their goals and their dreams. A lot of coaches would sort of tell them to be realistic and sort of stifle a lot of their ambition. And so I really took a couple of these kids under my wing and started training them and things like that. And it sort of naturally evolved. And so I started doing a summer academy for these young athletes, basically showing them how to eat and train like an athlete, how to think like a professional athlete. And from there, it sort of evolved, man. And I just recently started I'm Not You, where I've sort of honed my focus even a little more, just working with more highly committed, dedicated athletes who really are looking to go to the next level. And whether that's, as a younger athlete looking to, explode on the high school scene, or high school to college, and even college to pro. So I've been working with a lot of professional athletes, work with high school and even some younger athletes as well. But that's really how it got started.
Great. And tell us a little bit. Obviously, Youth Soccer Evolution podcast. We're a niche within soccer, but obviously there are very many kids that play dual sports and many other sports. As you stated before, you played soccer, and then you also played football, and I'm sure you played many other sports as well. But tell us specifically some of the work that you do with soccer players, and any professional players that you work with.
Yeah, definitely. So I work with Kendall Johnson. She's on the Portland Thorns. She's a defender. And I've recently been working with Allie Long as well. And so when you get to the professional level, even the college level, and so this is for all the coaches listening and athletes, everyone really, you usually at some point in the game, you usually know the things that you have to do in order to be successful. So when you look in the professional, at the professional level, and you see a player in a slump, it's usually not due to a lack of skill. It's not due to a lack of, not being big enough or these sort of tangible things that we see. It's always usually stems to their mindset. And so one of the things that I share with my athletes all the time, it's like, this is what's 100% responsible for everyone's results. And it's a very easy way to remember it, because it goes by the acronym BEAR. So BEAR. So your beliefs are what you call your mindset. So your beliefs are really what's true to you. Like what is your reality, the things that you believe are true. And so whatever you believe is true leads to how you feel, and that's your emotions. So E is emotions. Now, once you feel a certain way, that always leads to whatever action you take, which is A. So whatever action that you take or don't take, the quality of action and the quantity of action is always directly affected by how you feel. And we know that actions directly affect results. So if you want better results, you have to go back to the bottom and identify what are the beliefs that are holding you back. And so this is what I do with a lot of my athletes. Not only do I train them physically, of course, getting faster, stronger, more explosive, but I help them find out what are the things that are holding them back from playing like they know they can play. Because all of these athletes at one point or another have played at a level where they felt unstoppable. That's what got them to the level that they're at, And so I just help them find those recipes, if you will, and trigger them and be able to have them on point and on call, so that when it's necessary, whatever the circumstance or the situation calls them to be, they can pretty much access that state and dominate consistently, not like every once in a while, but consistently. And so that's what I work with a lot of my pro athletes with, and the same thing with my younger athletes, because again, everyone's always going for the sort of the surface level, they want to get faster and stronger, and all of that stuff is very important. But at the end of the day, your mindset, your beliefs, your mindset is what unlocks all of these tools that you have. Because if you don't have the proper mindset, it doesn't matter how much training you've done. It doesn't matter how much time you spend in the gym, what little cool gadgets you train with. You're not going to be able to perform at the level you want if you don't address your mindset. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. We do some pretty in-depth drills and exercises. And then it's really just all about repetition. And so we show them how to set up goals. We show them how to systematically go after those goals with some of the same strategies that these top level athletes and billionaires all around the world use. Very highly effective strategies. And the results really speak for themselves, because these kids are able to really break through and kind of get a feel for what they're ultimately capable of, which is so much more than what they realize.
Mm-hmm. So is your program similar for professional athletes as well as the younger kids that you work with?
Yeah. So the things that are different is that with the professional athletes that I work with, the system, all the systems in principle are the same. Like, because it doesn't matter success in terms of, they're all universal principles that can be applied to. It doesn't matter how young. I teach the same things I teach my pro athletes are things that I sit my kids down and teach them in front of a whiteboard at my home, and I got 5 children. So, But it really just, the thing that differs is the level of intensity, if you will. So I'm not going to sit a 15-year-old kid down who I just started working with and start, overloading him with a lot of information. And I've actually made that mistake before. And so I've learned how to sort of temper, what I introduce at the right times. But at the end of the day, all of these principles are pretty much the same. It's just a matter of how in depth you go and then customizing it to each athlete in terms of what his ultimate goals are, if you will.
Yeah. And when you talk about the importance of your physical abilities, and obviously those are important, but I have seen some of these players who you look at them and they have the size, the speed, the strength, the skill, and yet something's missing.
Right.
And you think about it and you're like, well, what is going on? It's got to be in their head,
right? Yeah.
Because they have all the tools necessary to be successful. Why aren't they one of the top players on my team?
Right, exactly. And that's a really frustrating thing, not just for the coaches, obviously, who are coaching and parents who watch their kids play, but it's the most frustrating for the actual athlete himself because he too knows, he knows that he can play. He knows, but there's something in there that's not allowing him to perform at the level he wants. And so I'll share with you sort of a series of questions that I use with a lot of my athletes. And this is something that I use with myself on a daily basis to pretty much find out why is it that I'm not getting the result that I want? So like I said, beliefs lead to emotions, emotions lead to actions, actions lead to results. So if you have a result that you're not satisfied with, so let's take the example of an athlete, right, who's on the team. Like you said, he's big, he's strong, he's fast, but he's not playing well. So he's got a result there that he doesn't like. He's got to analyze what beliefs are holding him back. And so imagine, have this kid or whoever is doing this, have them imagine that they're in front of in a priest confessional, right? So anything that you say is pretty much, it's not going to be judged. It's just, you're just pouring your heart out, And so you want to ask the question, why don't you have the results that you want? Why do you think you don't have the results that you want? And just let them answer that question honestly. It's really important for you to be honest to really get to the root. And what they'll do, if they're honest, is they'll pretty much tell you all of the beliefs that are holding you back. So for this, let's use the example of this athlete that we just drew up. Let's say he says, well, I just can't seem to, I don't feel motivated. A lot of athletes say that. I don't feel like I'm fast enough. I don't feel like I'm strong enough. I feel like, I feel like there's too much pressure on me or whatever it is. But once you start digging, all the reasons why they say they're not playing well enough, those are the beliefs that they have that are not allowing them to unlock their potential. And so those are the beliefs that they've got to systematically root out. And so I'll share with you just an example from my life. And so there was just as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you can relate. And so this was a few months ago, and I was starting to become more aware of like all of the steps that I needed to do in order to grow my business, in order to reach a lot of my goals. And so I found out that there were certain actions that I just weren't taking, or I wasn't taking. And so I was like, why am I not taking this action? I know I should, and I know I could do it, but why am I not taking it? And I found out that what I believed is that if I try something, right, if I take this action and it doesn't work out, then that's a waste of my time, right? And so that belief right there was the one responsible for me not taking certain actions that could have gotten me a dramatically different result in my life, in my business. And so I can't afford to hold on to that belief. And so instead, I decided to change that belief and say, as long as I take some sort of action, and even if it doesn't work how I want it to go, as long as I gain some sort of valuable information from it, then it's a win. Because I don't like to fail. I don't like to look at what I'm doing as a failure. So I can reframe the situation, and that way I'm not going to hold back anymore when it's time for me to take that action. And so I deal with this a lot with athletes, who want to put on muscle, for example. They have these idea that, I can't get big, and, like a lot of their parents have told them certain things that they've accepted as true. And I'm like, listen, you can't afford to believe that. Like, the reason why you're getting the result that you're getting is because you believe that. And so I have an athlete that I'm working with, and he talks like that a lot. And so we've sort of been systematically attacking that pretty aggressively, and just getting him to change that belief, because he believed that he's just skinny, right? And this is a soccer player, and this guy is highly skilled. He's fast, he's strong, but everyone has told him that he's skinny, and so he believes he can't put on the weight. And because he believes he can't put on the weight, he hasn't been taking the actions necessary to do it. It's not there. You go on YouTube right now and Google how to put on muscle mass and you'll find the answer, and it's available to everyone. You can take the action to get your result, but people's eyes are not even open to it because of what they believe, because of they've basically shaped their reality based on, their limiting beliefs and things that they believe about themselves. And so I'm pretty ruthless about this, man. I don't really play around with it. It's like, if you're an athlete and you're coming to me, you're not going to believe those things. Like, and we're going to root those out, because there's so many things that you could be doing that you're not doing because you believe these things. And most of the people, they just deal in limitations. They deal in lack, but they don't know that it's abundance out there, man. Any goal you're trying to reach is absolutely possible. There's way too many examples of professional athletes, of people of all types, not just athletes, who have achieved incredible results under incredibly limiting circumstances. And so this is another thing that a core belief of mine. You do not allow your circumstances to dictate what your goals are. And so when you look at a lot of athletes, they'll look at their current situation, right? And they'll let that determine what their ultimate objectives are, what their goal is. So if they haven't been able to, achieve a certain result in the past, if they haven't been able to put on muscle mass, if they haven't been able to improve on this certain skill, then they'll let that determine whatever goals they set. But I work the exact opposite way. I pay no attention to what my current circumstance is. I start with the question, what do I want? What do I want and how to get it? Those are the only two questions that should drive any athlete. If you want to be successful, if you want to dominate. Other than that, you're just going to be dealing in limits. You're going to be dealing in lack. You're going to be listening to what coaches tell you and a whole bunch of other junk that is really going to do nothing for you but frustrate you. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because you get a lot more energy. You get a lot more focus when you start thinking this way. It's like you get infused with a whole new sort of energy about yourself, and it's just a much more fun way to live.
So the player that you said is thin and believes that he knows he needs to get stronger. Right. And like you said, I mean, you can easily just Google it and figure out how to get stronger, but he hasn't done it.
Yep.
What's stopping him from doing it? So
the thing that's stopping him is him believing that that's true. That's quite simply him believing that it's true, that he can't get bigger, that he can't accomplish whatever goal he has because of whatever limit he has set up for himself, is his belief. Beliefs are like, let me try to think of a way to explain it. Tony Robbins explained it well when he said beliefs are like legs on a table. You know what I mean? And so the legs on the table are what's holding it up. And so if you have weak, limiting beliefs, you're going to have unstable results. You're going to have unstable confidence. But if you have beliefs that are strong, that empower you, that make you feel good, you're going to take action under circumstances that don't look good for a lot of people. So, for example, you just look into a game. I mean, let's just take at the end of a game, for example, you're down, let's take a soccer game. You're down by 2 goals, right? And most athletes believe that if you're down 2 goals with a certain amount of time on the clock, you're not going to win the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you don't even have to, you can just look at body language and tell that that's what they believe. And so what happens on the field, you start to see it in the way that they play. But what about that athlete? What about these athletes that we watch, that we all watch on TV? You watched the ESPYs the other day, all these people who are getting awards, they don't believe that. When it's the end of a game, that they believe like it's absolutely still a way for us to win this game. And because they believe that, they access a different level of emotion that most of us don't ever see. So they feel that new surge of energy and they end up taking totally different actions. They take more bold actions, more fearless actions. And those actions are what lead to their result. It's not just a matter of just sitting in your room thinking about something and thinking you're going to get a result. It's about action. But in order to take the action necessary, you've got to believe the right thing in order to feel a certain way. So this is what I always do. And this is what I do with my athletes. If there's a result that you want, you say, what would I have to believe in order to achieve this result? So let's take the athlete who wants to put on weight. So what would you have to believe in order to be able to put on weight?
That He's got to, he's got to believe that he can put on some weight.
Yeah, number one, he's got to believe that he can do it. That's number one. Number two, he's got to believe that whatever happened in the past doesn't matter. That now is his time, right? So he could have tried a bunch of things before, but he's got to believe that this time is different. And the cool thing about beliefs, and this is what people don't understand, you get to believe whatever the hell you want. Like, it doesn't matter. Dude, like, I tell my kids, my last name is Shabomahin. And if you go and ask my kids, are you successful? And they'll tell you, yeah. And then ask them, why are you successful? And they'll say, because I'm a Shabomahin. That's their last name. Now, does being a Shabomahin automatically make you successful? Did God make it that way? We can argue about that all day. But that's their reality. That is their reality. So when they write their name down, when my son D-Ron writes in his journal and there's a question in there that says, why are you successful? And he says, because I'm a showbo. You know what I'm saying? He really believes that. He believes that. And so he's going to take actions that are different from other kids because he believes that he's successful. So you can believe whatever the hell you want. And so a lot of people use logic and reason in order to formulate their beliefs. You don't even have to use that. You can choose to believe whatever you want. So you get to believe this time is different. What happened in the past does not matter. You can also believe I have all the resources necessary to reach my goal. All the resources necessary. Because a lot of athletes like to bring up the fact that they don't have, I don't have money for supplements, or, I don't have a trainer and all of this and this and that. You have to believe that you have all the resources necessary. And by you believing that, you're going to take actions that are different. So when I was in the NFL, or when I was got done playing ball at Portland State and I was trying to get in the league, I was trying to get to the NFL, I had broke my wrist. You know what I mean? I had a cast on my wrist, and everyone was pretty much telling me in a polite way that I probably wasn't going to get to the NFL because I wasn't a highly sought after player, and my wrist was broken. I couldn't do the bench press, in the combine and things like that. I didn't have any money. My second kid was on the way. I didn't have any money. But I knew that I could play at the next level. There was nobody, I wasn't going to listen to my friends or my mom or my dad or my coaches who were trying to be polite and telling me, I should just save my money and just try to figure something else out and work on getting a job. I did not believe that. And because I didn't believe that, I took actions. I felt differently about it first. I felt optimistic. I felt confident. I felt certain about my destiny. I felt sure about it. And so because I felt that way, I went out and I got myself an agent. I got myself a trainer, and I told him I don't have any money, but I swear to God, I'm gonna work my ass off, and I'm gonna get to the league. And when I do, I'm gonna tell him that you're my trainer, and I'm gonna bring other guys back to you. And you know what he did? He trained me for free. You know what I'm saying? I went to an old high school coach who I used to run track against, who was on who was on the rival team of my school in high school. And I remember this guy, and so I hit him up. I said, "Hey man, I'm trying to get to the NFL. Can you coach me on speed? Can you do sprint training with me?" He didn't even ask me questions. He said, "Of course I can." He didn't ask me for any money. He knew I didn't have no money. I have two top-notch level trainers who didn't charge me any money. I have myself an agent, and all because I had the beliefs. Now I could have sat up there and said, "Man, well, how am I going to get there because I don't have no money?" And well, what about what if this doesn't go right and I can't do the bench press? So that means that teams are going to No, I don't choose to look at it that way. So the result that I got was I went over there and I had one of the best 40 times of all the fullbacks in the combine, and I got picked up by the New Orleans Saints. And then from there, I was one of 18 players who were rookie free agents. Of those 18, only 2 of us made the roster, and I was one of them. And I started in Game 4 against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, it wasn't because I was big and I was fast and I was strong. I was not the biggest. I was not the fastest. I was not the strongest. It was not that. It was because I believed that it was possible. And because I believed it was possible, I felt a certain way while I was there. I felt a certain way on the road to success. I felt a certain way, and I took actions that most people could not get themselves to take, all because of what they believed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Nee, what do you think your mindset, your tenacity to keep moving forward? Where do you think that comes from? Was it something you picked up along the way, or were you born that way? I mean, where do you attribute this to?
And so, like I said, I was one of 4 boys. I was the middle child, and so I would do things a lot when I was younger that sort of went against the grain, if you will. And that's where I'm not you comes from. I'm not you as a mindset. Now, when people told me that I couldn't do something, that upset me. I didn't like that. Now, most kids, when they're told that they can't do something, they sort of accept it. I don't like to accept that. And so along the way, it was almost like this belief of mine, I'm not you. It sort of picked up steam along the way. And I started to gain momentum because I started to see that when I trusted myself instead of listening to other people, I went a lot farther. I liked how I felt. I liked the results that I got. And other people liked the results that I got. If I would have listened to other people, then I would have just been some random dude. You know what I mean? But I'm not. And so because I believe that I'm not you. But so to answer your question, it's definitely something that you can pick up. You can decide to feel this way because it's not like, I mean, your mindset is really a choice, and it's really, you have a choice every day. So you can renew your mindset on a daily basis. You can add to your mindset. You can strengthen your mindset every day. And that's my goal, really. My goal is every single day to feel unstoppable, man. Like, quite honestly, like I need to raise my level of belief every single day. And so it absolutely can be taught. It can be developed. And this is what my goal is. This is what I'm trying to do with young athletes. I want them to realize, man, there's so much that you can accomplish. Like it's no longer a matter of listening to your parents and to your coaches and having them determine what it is that you want. You have to listen to yourself. You know what you want to do. You know what you want to do. So identify your goal. What is your goal? And then say, what do I have to believe in order to accomplish that goal? And if what you believe right now is not going to get you to your goal, then eliminate it. Throw it in the trash. Write it down and burn it. And then write down what your new belief is, what it is that you want to believe, because that's the only way that you're going to get to success. And that's the only way you're going to get sustained success. The only way. When you see a perfect example, people who win the lottery. People who win the lottery, man, the reason why they go broke after 2 years is because they don't believe that they deserve that money, because their mindset does not match somebody who's rich. They just happen to get a lot of money. And so they get the money and then it's gone just like that, because you can't outperform your self-image. You can't outperform what you believe about yourself. You might be able to do it once, maybe even twice, but it will not be consistent. So you have to change how you view yourself. Change your self-image, upgrade your self-image, expand your universe, make it bigger, be more confident. And you can do this in your own head. And people will gravitate to you. People will see that, they will notice that. And your outer world will start to reflect what's on the inside, what you think about on a daily basis.
Nice. And, you wanted to share one habit that could double his energy, could double the energy and get us focused for practice and games. Can you share that with us right now?
Yeah, definitely, man. This is an incredibly powerful exercise that if you do this correctly, if you do this with clear intentions, if you do this with the type of energy necessary, you will absolutely see results. And so I call this prime time. And so remember, we talked about your emotions lead directly to how you to what actions you take, right? So yes. Before practice, one of the reasons why athletes don't achieve the success that they want is because they don't practice hard enough, quite frankly. They don't practice with the same level of intensity that they want to play in the game with. And because of that, when it comes game time, they're guessing and they're nervous. And the reason why you're nervous is because you haven't done it every day. And so if in order for you to get the type of results you want, you need to have maximum energy and focus and intensity every practice. And so you can do this this exercise before practice. And so first of all, identify how you want to feel. So pick the feeling that you need to feel in order to have the best practice of your life. Every practice should be the best practice of your life. So what that feeling for me would be, if I was a young athlete, I would want to feel unstoppable. I would want to feel poised. I would want to feel focused. I would want to feel highly energetic. I would want to feel optimistic. I would want to feel all these things. And so you write down all these emotions, right? And so I like to come up with names for like my states, right? And so like I like to jumble all these emotions and put it under one name, you know, like my unstoppable emotion, you know, and that's what I like to call it. So if I wanted to feel this emotion, then I ask myself 3 questions. And it's, you can go into the bathroom stall if you want to do this. You can do this in your locker, right in front of your locker if you feel comfortable. I usually like to put on some music. First off, I say, if I already felt this feeling, if I already felt this, how would I be standing? What would I be doing with my body right now? And I start to stand that way. I start to put my chest out. I put my shoulders out. I start to squint my eyes. I like to squint my eyes a little bit. It's certain thing I do with my mouth. I have a certain facial expression. And I start to feel that, because our body language directly affects how we feel and our mental state of mind. So the next question is, what would I be focusing on? So what things would I be picturing in my head? What sort of images would be going through my head? A lot of times we feel nervous before practice or a game because we're thinking about all the things that can go wrong. We're imagining mistakes that we could make. We're imagining the coach shouting at us. We're imagining us dropping the ball. We're imagining us missing that goal. So if you instead say, if I felt this unstoppable emotion, what would I be focusing on right now? And you're like, man, I'd be focusing on like making every single one of my passes crisp and clean, getting in and out of my breaks quickly. I'd be focused on scoring that goal. I'd be focusing on stopping that goal. I'd be focusing on doing everything with high intensity and focus. I'd be focusing on myself out there laughing and having a great time with my teammates. And you start to think about that. You start to focus on that, and that affects how you feel. Then the last thing is, what type of words would I be using? What language would I use? So you talk to some athletes in the locker room, they're talking about, this practice is going to suck, or, I'm so tired. Those words that you're using are affecting how you feel. So instead, if you use words that empower you, that give you energy, you're going to start to feel that way. And so you say, what type of words would I be using if I felt this unstoppable feeling? I'd be saying, man, let's go out there and kill it. I'm a murder in practice today, man. These fools can't stop me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I say when I'm getting ready for squat day and I don't feel like squatting. I get myself to feel like I'm squatting. I say, if I absolutely felt like squatting today, if I felt like I was going to murder it in the gym today and throw up this 420 pounds, what would I be saying right now? I'd be like, man, these fools can't mess with me, man. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm about to have the best workout of my life, man. This is what I do, and that's what I say. I can choose to say that. I don't have to say I'm tired and I'm weak and, man, I had a long day and I didn't get no sleep last night because of this and this. I don't have to say that. I can say whatever I want in order to give myself energy. And so those are the three things: your body, your focus, and your language. You say, identify what emotion you want to feel and say, what would I be doing with my body? What would I be focusing on? And what would I be saying if I really wanted to feel that way? And then you do it. You do it right then and there. You put on whatever music you want to play and you close your eyes or do whatever you got to do. I like to do it in front of the mirror. I do it in the morning. I do this whenever I need to, quite honestly. Some days I'll do it 5 or 6 times. Some days just doing it once will last me throughout the whole day. You could do it before a job interview. You can do it before practice, a game, for a test. For a test. If you're feeling nervous before a test, if you're feeling nervous and if it's a negative type of nervous feeling, then you're focusing on doing bad. You're focusing on making mistakes. But if you feel a positive nervous energy, like, man, I've studied so hard for this test. I know I can do it. I know that all the right answers are going to come to me when I need them. I know I've studied. I know I've done my thing. And you start focusing on all the things that you got to do. You don't yawn. You don't, check your body posture, what you're doing. Drink some water. Do whatever you got to do. Also, pay attention to what you eat, because that's also using your body. Whatever it is that you're putting in your mouth, you need to make sure that it's something that will give you energy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you, have you ever done this in a group setting, or is this normally something that each individual does alone on their own?
That's actually a great idea. I have not done this in a group setting, but I imagine that would be extremely powerful. I've done this in a group setting in that I've called kids up to do this in front of others in a group setting.
Gotcha.
And it's one of those things that, if you can imagine, asking a younger athlete to do this in front of his peers, it's kind of awkward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is the thing, man. You have to get really, really comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, if you want to get those type of results, you cannot be worried about what other people are thinking about you, quite frankly, man. Like, it's like a lot of athletes even in practice, they're worried about what other people are. They're too worried about how they look and having swag, as opposed to actually going hard and being willing to make mistakes and fall flat on your ass and, eat the grass for a little bit because you tried to make a certain move and it didn't work out. practice is like a science lab. It's your laboratory. Like, scientists don't go in the lab and are scared to mess up. Thomas Edison didn't go in his laboratory and was like, well, I don't know if this is not going to work. Like, you try it out and see if it works. And that way you gain valuable insight and knowledge that helps you in the future. So that's what practice is for. That's what the gym is for. It's your laboratory. Go in there, go all out, experiment, see what it's like to make that cut full speed. Don't wait till the game to go to try to go full speed. And that's why a lot of you don't have confidence. If you attack your practice and your training sessions with that level of intensity and that type of attitude, where you're literally testing your body out, you're seeing how far it can go. You're testing it out. You're going to have so much confidence when it comes to game day, because you're going to like, man, I remember very vividly going into my senior year at Portland State when I was in the best shape of my life, man. And me and my friend, Tim, we would go and, we would train together, man. And we just went after it. Hills like every day, stairs, all type of, speed and agility drills, going to the gym. We were hitting up any gym we can get. We were rotating 2-week free passes. We were going to like every other, we didn't have no money. You know what I'm saying? We were going to 24-hour fitness for 2 weeks, go to another one for 2 weeks, just getting it in however we could. And when I showed up that season, and by the way, I had the best season of my career. When I showed up that season, I was so confident because I knew what my body can do. I knew what it could take. You see what I'm saying? And so if an athlete, you have that choice to approach practice with that level of intensity, and it's your duty. If you're not practicing with that level of intensity, then that's why you're not playing well. That's why I can just go to your practice and watch you practice. That's why you're not playing well. Not only that, add on top of that, you're not practicing outside of it. As soon as practice is over, you're going to get changed and you're checking your phone and you're going home to play video games. You should be the last one leaving the field. They should have to kick you off the field. Now, this is if you want big time results. If you just want average results, then you're probably not even listening to this podcast, and you shouldn't, you're not an athlete that I will train anyway, because the athletes that I work with, the athletes that, I work with also in my sports results coaching program, which is online. I work with athletes all over the world. These are the athletes who want big time results. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, I wanted to ask you about that as well, but thank you for that as well. I mean, that's great stuff. Your programs, they can go out to IamNotYou.
Yeah,
.com.
IamNotYou.com.
Spelled out.
Yep, just IamNotYou. So
okay.
IamNotYou.com. And there you will get some incredible content that I'll be sharing with young athletes, and as well as my sports results coaching program. There's nobody else out there doing it like I am, where you can really get somebody who's focused on results. Or I'm not just claiming to be some sports psychologist or, mental conditioning coach and all these fancy words people are coming up with. These athletes need results, man. It's about results. And so everything that you do should get into what results you're after. So we're not in the habit of meditating and doing, writing down our goals for the sake of doing it. Like, these are the reason you do these things. The reason why you practice these certain practices is to get results. And so that's what I'm about. I work with athletes who are into results. And so sports results coaching, as well as I have an online product that's coming out this fall that I'm extremely excited about, that if you go to my website and sign up for the list, you will be made aware of all those updates. And I've also put together a gift for your audience. And if you go to IamNotYou.com/YSE, I included a PDF that has the exact morning routine that me and all my professional athletes do every single morning. And so that's another thing that sort of system that I install with my athletes is the morning master routine. You should be starting each day on fire, ready to go, man. Routines are very, very critical for the highly successful athlete. And so I break down my morning routine. I tell you exactly what I do, why I do it, and the devices and different, apps and things that I use to do it. So you can go there, check it out. IamNotYou.com/YSE.
Okay. And just to make sure I clear this up, if you're not in the Portland area, they can still work with you. Is that correct?
Definitely. If you're not in the Portland area, I do sports results coaching, which is basically one-on-one coaching through Skype, where I basically teach you the habits, the systems, and the mindset necessary to dominate. And so most of what you need to know is is not about training and you know, working on your footwork and things like that. You're going to be able to, you should be working on that and focusing on that daily. But I focus on the habits and the mindset and the systems necessary in order for you to dominate your sport and sustain that success over the long period of time. And so it's a really in-depth program. It's not for everybody. It's for those highly motivated and committed athletes that really are serious about taking their game to the next level.
Okay, so they just have to go to your website, and then they'll find all the information there.
Definitely.
Okay, and then there was an app that you wanted to share with us as well.
Yes, man. So the app that I use, man, this is an app that I make all of my athletes use. If you have not yet, it's mindfulness is one of those things that's sort of catching a lot of, you know, it's meditation basically, but it's one of those popular things nowadays, but it's one of those things that a lot of people talk a lot about, but you're not practicing it. So if you're a highly elite athlete, if you want to be, you should be meditating. And so the purpose of meditating is it gets you to access that level of calm, that zone that we like to call it. It gets you in touch with that and basically gets you to play at high levels more consistently. And so it's done incredible things for me just as a habit that I've taken on, lowered my blood pressure like 50 points. It's incredible. But you feel much more calm, poised, focused. It relieves a lot of anxiety and that on-field anxiety that a lot of athletes feel. But Headspace is the app that I use, and it's an incredible app. I included that in the Morning Mastery, but just go to your app store and download Headspace and try it out, man. Nice. It's amazing.
Great. Nee, is there anything, we're coming out to the end of the interview, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think is important to know?
Well, I would just talk to the parents and coaches. I really feel that it's really important for us as parents, coaches, mentors to really give these kids permission to dream big. Like, there's nothing worse for me, like when I was younger, there was nothing worse than having someone that I really highly respected sort of gently, even if it was gently, sort of tell me that, you know, kind of try to get me less fired up about my goal by telling me, yo, I don't know if you can do that, or maybe you should just do this. Kids know what they want, man. Don't hold them back from that. Guide them. Show them what it's going to take in order for them to achieve their goals. Let them know it's going to be very difficult, but encourage them. Show them the habits that they'll need. Point them in the right direction. Buy them an autobiography of an athlete who's done something similar to what they're trying to do. It's not always about just reaching the goal. It's about who you become in the process to reaching that goal. So if you start teaching these kids to settle, they're going to take that habit with them throughout the rest of their lives, and they're going to live mediocre lives. But if you teach them to go after what they want and go after it aggressively and with a full head of steam, always evaluating, taking action every day, but evaluating themselves, noticing their results, having like awareness to be able to say, this is working, this is not working, and keep going after their goal, you are giving them the greatest gift they can ever have. And that's like a set of really positive beliefs that are going to get them big time results in their life, in every area of their life, every area, not just sports. And that's why sports is so beautiful, because it teaches kids these lessons. So for the parents and coaches out there, man, encourage these kids to dream big, but show them what it's going to take in order for them to get there.
Yeah, nice. Well said, man. Wow. That's good. I'm going to have to start charging for this podcast now. Great stuff, man. Great stuff, and all for free. So thank you so much.
No doubt.
For joining us and giving us all this insight, be able to dominate, their development and maximize it and do well when they're out there. So I thought it was great. So we really appreciated you coming on.
No doubt. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks again for listening. Don't forget to go on iamnotyou.com/YSE. And also, if you like the show, don't forget to go on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review.